going to go not in the positive way, but in a negative way. Also, the way you communicate, your emotional intelligence will help you communicate either effectively or in the right way, or not in the right order. It also helps you to empathize with others. How do you see other people? When you're emotionally intelligent as educators, you're able to empathize with that child in your class. You're able to empathize with that colleague to understand, oh, this person doesn't look okay. This person doesn't feel all right. Is there a way I can step in? Is there a way I can help? Is there something I can do to this child to make life a bit better for this child? So that's part of what the keywords I look at. Overcome challenges. With emotional intelligence, you are able to overcome difficult challenges you come across, as educators, and diffuse conflict. Now, I wrote here that emotional intelligence starts with you. As educators, every day we're faced with so many things. In a typical country like what we have, I mean, with the fuel issues and all the like, imagine going to work early in the morning, and then you have so much from your home front, and then you are getting to class and meeting so much issues. If you, there are likely tendencies that, I mean, there will likely be outbursts, there will likely be uh, 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 um, um, ways you treat students in such a manner that some of them will actually wonder, can I really be in this class? I mean, I deal with some younger children and sometimes older children. And I know that there are times maybe if I come to my class in the morning and my attitude is not right, definitely it starts off the class on a very, very negative way. So if I understand my emotions every time in the morning or every day I'm coming to work, I understand, okay, my priority are first the students I'm coming across with. Now, I know people ask the question to say, okay, the students are priority. What about me? Well, that's why when you have issues with yourself, the first thing to do is to make sure you address the issues as a person. You find out if there's someone you can actually communicate with. So if a teacher has had a rough day, do you understand? And maybe has a class that he has to deliver and understands that in that class he has 3 or 4 students who are always getting on his nerve. Now, the first thing to do as a teacher is to take some time or before going to the class to say, how do I address this issue? What do I do? So maybe find a place, cool off, talk to somebody, go to a colleague, share what is burdening you, and unburden that thing that you have, that heaviness in your heart. And sometimes, in doing that, you actually find solace and relief, and then you can actually go to the class with a smile, with something better to look forward to. So it's very important that as educators, we manage ourselves first. Coming to address your issues, look for someone that you know that you can relate your issues with. Talk about it. Don't throw it under the bus and say, oh, I'm fine, I've been a teacher here for 20 years, 30 years. No. We had an incident recently at somewhere where I work, and it actually led to the teacher being told to go off. Why? Because I mean, the child had always gotten to the nerves of this teacher. This teacher was already getting quite agitated. So you can imagine coming to class every morning. Maybe she's had issues at home and then she comes to class. She's agitated. But coming to class that day was something else because that child actually was all out for her. And in getting to class that morning, it was just a simple thing as shoving the child, not pushing, in her words, shoving the child. And just shoving the child became something that became a more complex situation for her, right? But maybe if she had actually talked to maybe her line manager, talk to somebody to say, at this point, this is how I feel. I know some of us will say, some line managers are not considerate, but it's actually better you actually speak up. So in cases where things go south or go north or go the other way, you are actually, I mean, you before the panels, I mean, you have an excuse to say, you know what, I actually came out to ask for help and nobody helped me. So the first thing with emotional intelligence is that it starts with you. Understand your emotions. Know when to step down. Know when to, know when that anger is pushing you. Know when that anxiety, when you are too anxious. Know when you are overly excited and you need to know how to speak, because not just emotions of being angry, emotions of being also overly excited. Sometimes, in our bid of being too excited as educators, we say things that we shouldn't say, and that will actually not make the difference we actually want for ourselves. Okay, I also wrote that you are aware of yourself, your learning space, and your triggers. So, as an educator, your emotional intelligence will allow you to be aware of your space, your learning space. What do I mean by your learning space? Where you teach your children, the kind of children you work with, the kind of children that get on your nerve, the kind of children that make your work look like you are not delivering. What do you do about these issues? What do you do? Do you open up or do you just close up? Do you find other ways you can go about with these children? Maybe they are not actually learning the way you are actually presenting what they know. Maybe what you are, the way you are presenting it is not cutting across to them. So is there something else you can do? Can you find that fun teacher that seems just overly excited and say, you know what, I think you do so well in teaching this particular concept. Can you step in for me and let me just watch you? In doing that, that doesn't mean that you are, sometimes we don't want to look vulnerable. We don't want to look like, oh, I'm not caught. I will send a message like I'm not competent. No. In the age where we are right now, it is building ourselves together, collaboration. These are what helps each other as educators to make the difference. It is not showing off that I'm better off than somebody or thinking that, oh, I'm more intelligent than the other person. No. If I know that at that point in time I am not doing or delivering effectively, can I seek somebody that has a better idea of what to do, that will step in to help me at that season? Okay, so I had a case scenario, and this case scenario actually comes home, and I will be talking about this case scenario. So I'll read it out. This case scenario, I said, Mrs. Tan had a rough night at home. Please, I hope you're listening, because I'm actually going to ask us to unmute at some point um to discuss this. So Mrs. Tan had a rough night at home. Her issue with her husband had gotten out of hand, and this led to a terrible backlash at home. So we understand what that means. She got to school the next morning moody and depressed. A friend noticed her disposition, but she brushed off the friend's concern and pretended to be okay. So let's not forget, a friend noticed the disposition, she pretended to be okay. She brushed it off. She wasn't really ready to talk about it. A student of hers looked really bad that morning, but she didn't bother to ask what was wrong with her, as she had too much on her mind. She complained of being, the student complained of being very cold. However, she shoved her complaint and told her, okay, thank you, apparently it's being shared. She shoved her complaint and told her she will be fine. Apparently, this student was coming down with a crisis as a sickle cell patient. About some minutes into teaching, the students yelled. The students yelled and collapsed. He rushed off. He was rushed off to the hospital where he was in critical condition. This made her day completely worse. So imagine she had started out her day on a very terrible note, right? But aside from starting down, what can I do differently? Yes, I'm upset. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, my home is looking like it's in a fiasco. What can I do? I'm going to teach this morning. What could I have done differently? So I have done differently. What could Mrs. Tan have done differently? So I would like us to actually discuss this quickly. What could Mrs. Tan have done differently? So the floor is open for us to discuss. What could Mrs. Tan have done differently in this situation using her emotional intelligence? I don't mind if we want to speak, we'll just have our hand raised button and then we'll talk about it. What could Mrs. Tan have done differently? You can unmute your mic and speak.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Bayam. Good evening, sir.
This is the voice of Abayamino. Yeah,
Okay.
I paid attention to series of definitions given about emotional intelligence, but
Mm,
over the years, I think there is a shift in the definition recently. Like, it is
mm,
not only to a particular person; it has to do with you ability to understand yourself and an ability to understand the emotion of the second person.
mm,
So it's more like a give and take rather than you yourself alone, your understanding your emotion alone. Because there are some situations whereby the other person who will be the one receiving, perhaps the person is not kind of emotionally stable. So in this case of Mrs. Stan, I believe on her own, she's not emotionally stable, and she lacked the ability to understand that child's um, situation or so. So I think what she could have done differently was if if she had gotten herself better, it would have helped her to understand that student, and probably the issue might might not have come up. So that is what I believe. So like, but though you said it earlier, you yourself first and the second person later. So it's more like a give and take stuff. If she had managed herself and having the ability to understand that student, I think issues like this wouldn't have come up. Yeah, that is my 2 pence.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, so much. Thank you, Miss Precious.
Yeah,
The
thank you,
floor
ma.
is
Good evening, ma.
good
So,
evening.
from what I observed in the short story, Mrs. Tan had a friend that noticed she wasn't feeling too good and something was off about her.
Wow.
So, um, I think Mrs. Tan could just have opened up since it was her friend. And in cases like this, people that have issues or are having down moments, if they have friends that they can open up to, it would be very okay if they can open up to their friends, share what's going on with them. Yeah, share what's going on with them. And there's this saying that says, a problem shared is half solved or something. So if she shared her problem with her friend and the friend probably gave her tips or something that could help her get through the day, she would have been able to uh, collect herself and handle issues better. So bottling everything up and not communicating with people might have contributed to her outburst. She could have actually communicated with somebody, calmed herself down, and handled issues better, and also tried to like understand that she has left home, she's in school, and she has a duty, a responsibility to play there. So she shouldn't transfer the hurt and aggression from home to her students. That's what I think, ma.
Thank you so much, so very much. I don't know if somebody else has something to say, but I actually agree completely with you. Now, this scenario looks very, sometimes we read the scenarios and we say, is it actually true? They're actually true. So I'm going to twist the scenario a bit. When okay, somebody else is raising their hands. Please, Mr. Taiwo Fashion. Yes, you raise your hand.
Yeah,
Let me allow
thank you.
you.
Thank you very much, Ma. I feel what Mrs. Tan could have done differently is she could have got it right because this issue started last night. So for her to have allowed that issue linger till midnight, till the next morning, I think it would have so much compiled and it would have weighed her down. So the best she could have done is to, through those hours, she should have just looked for a way to settle the issue with her husband and get going for the day. And then I have a question, Ma. I
Okay.
don't know if I'm permitted.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can ask.
So sometimes I think why people don't speak out is maybe because of trust issues or there's no reasonable person to speak to. Some people, when you speak to them, they make matters worse. So
True.
maybe Mrs. Tan is is in that shoes. Probably that colleague is one of those chatterboxes who don't keep quiet. You tell them your issues and it becomes a public matter. I don't know. So what could she have done if there's no reasonable person to speak to?
Okay. Now, when I do presentations, really, I don't like giving answers first. I like throwing it out to everybody because this is actually like a conversation. I will give my own feedback later, but I actually like the point of view you're coming from. But let's listen to somebody else. Somebody else could answer, and then I'll give my 2 cents. Mr. Bayami, you want to say something?
Yeah, Mr. Tao actually said my mind actually. So I I am kind of being jokingly saying that there is this idiom that say a problem solved is half shared. That was then. Now A problem shared is no longer half solved. It is now in the lips of everybody. So, like, yeah, it's now in the lips of. It's no longer half solved, and it's a probably someone like me. I find it very difficult to share things I go with people because I'm just me on my own. That's just me. And in case like that, like I felt she should have settled it within herself. And now, in case like that, also where a problem shared is no longer half solved, it is not at the lips of everybody. How would she like relay the message to her friend? Kind of like, not everybody like this disposition of putting their burdens to other people. They just let me be on my own. This kind of. So I don't know. You can help us out. Yeah,
Okay,
kind of.
I would help, but I will listen to other people. I have somebody else raising up. Please, I might not see Mr. Arowolo. I think I can see that hand up.
Okay, it is Mr. Aruwurade.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, apologies.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much for this session. We started
Mhm.
off on a very definitive note, and I must appreciate that definition. It was detailed. Okay, for the trust issues, I need to just say this: that irrespective of how reserved you are, you still rely on people every day.
Exactly.
In fact, you can't live if you're not relying on one person or the other. So it
True.
means there's always that one person that can hear you out and that you can trust. So that's where I was going to say yes, that she wasn't being emotionally intelligent by keeping all to herself to the point where she now took it out on the innocent girl. And to be honest, just like you said, or just like it's here, she will definitely fall into a more critical condition because now the guilt, she would have to live with it. So I think that one should just have that one person you can share something with whenever it comes. You don't have to wait for the next person that will pass by. I think you just take it straight to that person and share. We need to be vulnerable, honestly, to get
Yeah.
some issues or some problems solved. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I like the part of you saying we need to be vulnerable. You see, the society we have grown up has made us so shielded. We have. I agree that. I agree that the world out there is hard. There are people that are doing things that I mean, you can't trust them. But sincerely, like he said, can you actually live alone? No, it's not possible.
No, somebody already answered the question about referral. That the reason they will not want to refer is that they don't trust. You don't get the
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So that was what you spoke.
exactly. So I now quickly address that one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Somebody's still speaking, right? Oh, sorry. Okay. Now, thank you so much for that point of view. I mean, that point of view was very salient. Now, let me give you a practical scenario. So, sometimes you see people and you think that, oh, there's nothing going on with them. Well, I put myself into these scenarios when I write them because, I mean, these are things that I've experienced in classrooms and I've come in contact with. So, my own case did not go south like this. Now, the way I am framed, if I am if I'm having a bad day, is written all over my face. I have I have a default angry face, but I'm actually a very soft person. So when I am not in a good mood, it is written clearly all over my face. Now, personally, I know we're all from different religious background. I have my God factor that I don't joke with, and I take it very seriously in my teaching career. And like he said, somebody to be vulnerable with. I always have somebody, no matter how bad, that I am vulnerable with. So I've had issues where I have actually had issues in my marriage and I had to go to work the next morning. And sincerely, it was horrid because imagine going to face two children who are just coming innocently to class, they're excited, they're happy, and all of that. But I would then carry my own baggage and drop on those children. One thing I like about this topic is an educator with a difference. Sincerely, if we actually want to be educators with a difference, let's not let's come out plain. Sometimes we have to drop our baggage and look at this. It's like I always say. Sometimes when I go to school, I was like, See, God has given me 12, 24 children. How do I deal with these children? How do I, Miss Precious, I'll call you. I'm sorry, I'll call you in a bit. How do I deal with them? How do I, what am I impacting into them? So sometimes that's why you find some students say, man, I don't want to be in that guy's class. That guy he's just always bitter. Something is just always, and you know, when you exude bitterness, it repels people off. So Mrs. Tan stood a chance. You know, one of the things for me was there was somebody she could have talked to, even if that friend was the chit chat type. There should be somebody, sincerely, there should be somebody I should be able to still out time with to say exactly how I feel. We're not beyond human beings. We're humans. And the way God has made us, He has made us with feelings. He has made us, that's why we talk about emotions. We have emotions, different things boiling and fizzling out of us. But how do I manage it? Even if you say, oh, as a Christian, I'll go and pray in the bathroom and all of that, the emotions are still there. Yes, the prayer could actually help relieve it, whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, but in that short time, what can you do? Because like somebody said, oh, she had the whole night. Remember, sometimes the emotions you have throughout the night might not even work, just be thrown off like that, because they might be deep things that actually hit your heart and your soul. But with those things, there should be somebody you can just pick up your phone and say, please, can I just speak to you? This is how, if you need, you know what I always say, like somebody said, be vulnerable. If you need to cry as a person, do share those tears. That is why recently there's been this recent talks now about allowing men even right now to express themselves, because before, when we were growing up, you were told you're a man, you're not supposed to cry, you build up yourself and all of those, all of those things that actually not right, and have made our society churn out people that have become insensitive. So if we don't learn to express ourselves, open up ourselves, right, bring out the emotions, cry, do what you have to. And that's why I started this by saying it starts with you. To be an educator with a difference, with that has an emotion and that emotional intelligence playing inside of you, you have to be the one that starts it out with. It has to start from you. You are the main person. You are the one that the children are looking up to. For a school system to have put you in charge of 12, 13 English students or whoever, they know that you were capable. And so sometimes we just need to step down. I know that I don't have enough time, so I'm really going to quickly round up. But quickly, Miss Precious, so that I can move on and quickly finish up my. Miss Precious, you wanted to say something?
Okay, so yes, I just wanted to be clear on the problem shared is how solved phrase. For me, I believe that concept does not necessarily mean when you share your problem, the person solves it or you get a solution totally. I feel like when you share the problem, the concept is just saying when you share that there are ways you open up or unbottle yourself, and it makes you feel better. It just reduces the weight and the load of the thing on your chest. So it's saying it out. So sometimes when you bottle it all up, it seems like a very heavy load, but when you just pour it out, it makes it maybe seem a bit smaller in a way. I think it's a psychological thing. So it's not necessarily saying, okay, the person is not going to share it with the world, and it's not saying the person is going to be quiet about it, or the person might not even have a solution for you at that point. But then you being able to pour it out kind of eases you for a bit. So I think,
Yeah.
and for you that is going to work, you would need that rest. You would need to be calm a bit to be able to attend to your other activities in the day. So Mrs. Glory, I want to ask if you can round up a bit so we can
Yeah,
take
I will.
questions from the audience.
I will
Yeah.
be rounding.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess like she said, sometimes the questions are not answered 100%. But one of the things I also want us to be want to say here is that we need to be sensitive to people around us. It's not just the students, even your colleague. You need to be sensitive. You need to know what to say to them, how you say it to them. It's very important. Communicating effectively. Something you just say loosely can actually affect the person. So I think I rounded up my slide by saying, as educators, our emotions determine the environment of our class and the emotions of our students, not just of our students, even of our colleagues around us. Our emotions are very important. We can't just throw it off the bus. We need to be very, very careful with them. Yes, so I don't know if we have any questions. I know I will send some questions. I don't know if I need to address the questions now. Do you want me to address those questions? I will send some questions. Miss Precious, you want me to address the questions, or are we throwing this out to everyone to ask questions?
Yes, we're trying this out to everyone to ask questions, ma. So if you have
Okay.
questions, please raise
If
your
you have
hand.
questions, you can ask.
Okay, while we're waiting for others, I think I'll just go. That's what I want to do. Yes.
Okay, so I mean, I was asked what are the key components of an emotional intelligent educator. The first
Yes. So
one
for me,
is empathy. We have, you see, one of the reasons why we're all saying we can't trust people and all of that is because over the years we've become very mean people. There's no empathy anywhere. You just feel like, if she's going through that, so what? Is that the end of the world? Empathy, please. Empathy. Treat people the way you want to. Empathize with people. Put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in that child's shoe. I'm going to give a quick story. So last year, I had a child brought from an orphanage into my class. This child lives in they're quite as we have like a white lady taking care of them and bringing them to our school. Now, sometimes you don't know when you just overreact with these children and all of that. But there are days I will just sit down and look at this child and I'll be like, this boy has potentials. What can I do beyond? And there are days I will see him. There was something he did recently, and I went out of my way. I said, because of the way you've answered my question and the way you behaved in class, I went out of my way to do something for him. And the boy was just, he was in awe, like, huh, what have I done that is so, empathize, not just with your students, with your colleagues as educators. Listen, have a listening ear. Also, effective communication. I think I've talked about that. Our social skills, manage your emotion and that of others. Your social skills, some of us are very good at managing people's emotion. Let's bring it on to bear. Let's show those social skills. Some of us are very good at making people excited, talking people out of things. Bring those things out. Self-awareness, being aware of yourself. You know yourself, you know your limits, you know your boundaries, you know what you can take and what you can't take. So self-awareness for me is in total, in the sense that if I know I am not good in a particular topic or in a particular, look for help. I am self-aware. I know that this is beyond me. This is not something I can take on. Or maybe I've been battling with this thing over the years. And I just feel that I don't want my boss to know that. I don't want people to know. I don't want the children. I was watching a TED talk recently, and the lady was saying about how she taught a concept wrongly to like grade 4 students. And the next morning, the first thing she said was, "Oh, I'm sorry. I actually did this wrong. I didn't teach it right." And they just had like a laugh. The children had a laugh over, and she retaught it. So she was aware. Self-awareness. Don't brush it under the carpet and feel like no, it's not working. And then self-regulation. For self-regulation, I mean self-control. We can't always just be overly angry, all of that. We learn to manage our impulsivity, manage our emotions, manage the way we act, the way we react. Yes, I'm naturally a very angry person. I don't know what's there to smile about. No, 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 no. We regulate ourselves. We know when to just, let down our guards once in a while, come up and all of that. And then motivation, being able to motivate people, motivate ourselves. Motivate yourself, hype yourself, tell yourself you are good. When everything is looking somehow, make yourself look good. Like, yes, you understand? Even when you don't feel like I am capable, I can do it. I can move on. I can, take those challenges up, take challenging things, do what you feel like you can't do. That actually builds up your emotional intelligence. It builds it up. And so I think the last question what I was asked was the link between professionalism and vulnerability. Vulnerability. Yes. And the link for me is open-minded, being open-minded, basically. Because when I sat down to think about it, I was like, what's the link between professional? It's being professional and vulnerable. You're having an open mind, not having a closed mind. When you have a closed mind, right? There is no way you can actually build up yourself. There is no way. You are open to, you're open to feedback. That's the link between you being a prof. I mean, let's paint it in a real light. So I mean, like I've been saying over the time, I am not too good at a particular thing. Yes, professionally, I am expected to know these things, but maybe there's some particular aspects I am not too good at. Can I open up? Can I be vulnerable? Can I open up to somebody, somebody I really know that I can trust? I know that trust is still there, but can I open up and just have this open mind that whatever it is all working out for my own good. It's all making me a better person. It's all making me, and that educator with a difference, along the line, people begin to pick something about you that there's something about this person. She just, I mean, we find out that she's just very simple, open. She doesn't try to cover up all the nonsense she doesn't know, all the good things she feels she knows. She tries to share her knowledge. So for me, the link basically is being open-minded and open to feedback, open to, sometimes your people are going to give you feedback that are going to throw you off balance and make you feel like, who is she to tell me? What does she know? But those feedbacks really, sometimes we sit down, right, and say, you know what? Let me take this feedback and build myself. It makes you become a better person in your profession, makes you become quite aware. I mean, gives you an edge, basically. So I think I think I've been able to address those two questions.
Okay.
It's
Thank you very much, Mrs. Glory. Thank you for this interactive session. It was a whole lot. For those that didn't join us from the start of the meeting, we didn't join on time. We went through the profile of Mrs. Glory, and from what you've learned or heard today, you'd see that we're opportunity to share from our wealth of knowledge, and she said a lot. So, Mrs. Glory is an experienced literacy coordinator, and she's an English language educator with over 10 years of dedicated service in the field of education. She has strong interpersonal skills and also has an empathetic approach, making her an effective communicator and collaborator with her students and fellow educators. She holds a bachelor's degree in theater arts and has a PGCE in education. Currently, she works with Green Spring School, and she has worked there for over 14 years as both a class teacher and literacy lead. She believes that beyond the classroom, literacy is a foundational skill and fundamental skill that empowers individuals and plays a vital role in their personal and professional growth. And we're really privileged to have had her speak with us on today's topic. And I also want to say a very big thank you to everyone that joined us. Okay, Mrs. Glory, you're raising a hand.
Yes,
You
I'm
can
sorry. I know that we are beyond time, but sorry, please. If you just give me just a minute, I need to say something to round this up.
go ahead.
Just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say this story because I know that I don't know which will affect and who it will help. So we had a student in our school who we lost some years back. And why did we lose the student? Because nobody was sensitive to what this child was going through. Nobody was sensitive until this child went to a place where it wasn't something that happened in our space of, I mean, my school, but somewhere this child left our school and because of behavior was moved to another school and was a boarding school. By the time they will wake up the next morning, this child was hanging from the roof. He was dead, of course. Now, when this child came to our school some weeks before he hung himself, everybody sensed there was something wrong with him. Everybody saw that child and saw something. He wasn't just himself. We had known this student before. And, we just kept asking. He just kept saying, I'm fine. But he told his friends that something is wrong. Now, we picked it up, but wherever the student was, nobody picked it up till he hung himself. And so, just my closing remark is let's be sensitive about our environment. Let's be sensitive about our space, about the people, the students we have, and about our colleagues too, not just our students, but our colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much once again, Mrs. Glory. Thanks to everyone too that joined the conversation today. So, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a theme-based discussion. It's a weekly event hosted by Everything Literature. Weekly, we have a series of activities that are geared to our growth. So on Mondays, we have Plan, Ask, and Share. It's called PAS. Here we share the challenges we face during the day. We get practical tips and solutions to help us get through our day and through the week. On Tuesdays, we have trivia and teaching tips, and Noah Abayomi anchors the session. Wednesdays are for theme-based discussions like we're having this evening, and afterwards we have a Q&A session. On Thursdays, we have peer review and feedback, where we share our classroom related challenges and write ups, such as poems, essays, and articles. Your fellow educators can give advice on how to address the situation alongside constructive feedback on your piece of writing. So it's just intended to help us bond as a family and our growth in related fields. On Fridays, we have the virtual reading club anchored by Noah and myself. We are given literary texts to read on the group and we discuss them afterwards. You can ask questions if you like to. On Saturdays as well, we have virtual chats tagged if I were to be the minister for. So here you can just share with us what plans you would implement if you were a minister in any sector of the economy. So we just want to share your ideas and innovations. And Motsunrayo anchors this session. So that's it for our weekly schedule, and I think that's it for today's episode of the team-based discussions. Thank you for joining us.